Hey, I got a light, boy. Hey, I got a light. Hey, I got a light, boy.
Okay, I mean, you can make up your own mind how you paint things. I think those two were so small, I left them on there and painted them for the time being. They're going to be a nightmare to do anyway because they want red around the spring part. So I'm going to try doing that. I might try and use a marker pen when they're completely dry. This piece is all fitted in now nicely, which I'm quite pleased with, the bottom part so far. The engine's looking pretty good. I've now got the another part put on the side there. The manifolds, are they, or whatever, I don't know much about engines, but there you go. Yep, so that's that. And then over here we have another piece that I'm now going to paint. This has got to be paint several different colours. I guess you don't really have to, mind you. I mean, it's different shades of black, when, to be honest, both of them are matte, and they're not that much different to the two. Over here you can see that there's some matte black on it that's different to the main matte black that I used at the beginning, but you don't always have to go by what for a change I'm going with the paint arrangement they've got in the instructions, but you don't really have to. When I cut these off, I just like to cut them off and leave something so that you can hold on to it. So we've took most of the spurs off to clean up the edges. You know, this is be the only bit that don't get painted, obviously, when you paint these things. So what I'm using is these things that are magnetized, that just sits on there and holds the bits that I'm painting. So I shall link that to that. You know, something like this. And then it can be held up like so, and I can paint it. And you can bend these whatever shape you like to make, you know, and turn them around while it's on there, on the anything metal. And you can paint it, which is much better really. And then you've only got one piece left that'll leave a little white mark when you take it right off, ready to fit. And you can touch that up once you've fitted it into the place that it's got to be, or just before, one of the two. Anyway, that's how I do it. So I cut them off of here, you know, as best I can, leaving something that you can hold on that doesn't have to be painted, and just give it a paint. It's just another little tip that I do that you could do, but you don't have to. So a lot of my tips might be rubbish according to people watching this, even if you got this far into the video. So, but you know, this is what I do. So yeah. Okay, so I'm now going to paint all these bits. Really, making these model kits, especially when there's so many parts like this one, it's all about painting. You could paint them all in advance, but believe me, you might as well just do it bit by bit. It's, you know, you can't hurry these things. That's the thing. If you try and hurry them, then they don't come out very neat and tidy and very messy. I mean, at the moment, it's looking pretty damn good, and I'm happy with it. So, you know, the painting is the biggest part of doing these models, really, to get the paint right. If you don't, then the models don't look all that great. You can't just stick them together in the colours that they come in. It would look pretty boring. So yeah, moving on. Okay, so just as a little extra, I've started, well, I drilled 6 holes basically, and used some little bit of black wire that I had lying around, which was kind of roughly, I think, the kind of gauge I'd need. And I'm just going to make them all stick in there with a little bit of super glue until they're nice and strong, and then I'll cut them all to the right length and glue them with some super glue onto the distributor cap. So yeah, that's just a little bit of extra for the engine, just to make it look a little bit more realistic. Okay, so that's certainly added a little bit more detail. I quite like that. So the leads are coming out of the little drilled holes and going and being just glued with some super glue on top of the distributor cap, and that kind of makes the whole thing look a little bit more realistic as such. So that's cool. A little bit of touching up around everywhere, and the engine will be looking pretty cool. There is some decals to put on next, some very, very tiny decals, so that'll be lots and lots and lots of super smashing fun, I'm sure. Probably not actually, but they'll be worth putting on. So that will probably be my next move. But yeah, I'm pleased with that anyway. Okay, so there's a couple of small decals to put on this engine. I am going to attempt to do it. I've seen people on build this online, and they've done a really good job at getting these on. Oh my days, they are small. So with the eyes that I've got, I'm going to have to definitely use this. Yeah, and I'm just going to have to take my time and give it a go. If I get them on there, it'll be an absolute miracle, I've got to say. Okay, so I'm completely utterly amazed with myself how I managed to get these two tiny little decals on, one on the front there, if you can just about see it, and a very, very, very small Jaguar logo right there. Yeah, absolutely crazy. But if you want to bother to do it, then why not? That's all part of the fun. But I got them there. I cannot believe I did. I have been doing plenty of decals just recently, so I've got a little bit better at them. But oh wow, I did put a little bit of softener on the one on the front there, so it would kind of help with it, getting it around. It went a bit stiff. I couldn't get it to lay down, but you know, these are the things that that makes it such fun. I did enjoy that. I maybe not have enjoyed it so much if I couldn't get them on there, but yeah, I don't think it would have really mattered hugely anyway. So yeah, great, I shall move on. Okay, at this point it is handy to have a wife, and my wife is into crafting stuff, and these Posca pens are just absolutely superb. Give them a shake. And that's how I'm going to get the red painting on these springs, but I'm going to have to take them off so I can get all the way around them. But that works really well, because you'd never be able to paint. Well, you could if you were really good with a brush, but it's so much easier with one of these. So that's the way I'm going to do it, as they want the spring part to be red. So you know, at the end of the day, that's the only way I can think of doing it, and it seems to be working really well. So there we go, another little tip if anybody wants to know. I know that you can get all sorts of pens. You can even buy pens that are supposed to be for doing this particular thing, but these Posca pens work really well. To be fair, well, they are in this case, so that's great. So super job, smashing. Okay, so at this point of the build, I just thought I'd mention I've just placed the engine in its position. That wasn't too bad. I managed to get that to fit okay. Now, super glue was needed when gluing the two pieces at the front here to the engine, so that it would stay in place, because this slightly bends upwards to contact it, and with ordinary glue it just, you know, it just was too hard to get to stick. So I used super glue for that. I don't like using super glue much, only when I have to, really, because it can be a real pain in the backside. Had a little teeny bit of an accident, but managed to clean it up okay. And then the bit that I weren't too happy with, I must say, was the exhaust. When I actually went to fit the exhaust, pushing this part here down seemed almost impossible to get stuck. You've got a kind of shape that wasn't really shaped enough, so you have to also press this piece down and join into here. I used super glue for that too, because there was some tension on that as well. So the fit of the exhaust weren't great, to be honest, on this model, but I've managed to get them nicely joined up with the manifold there, so it's all gone okay anyway. So that's as far as I've got so far. So yeah, I'm liking it. It's looking good. Everything's looking neat and tidy-ish, I would say. So yeah, this is good so far. It's a nice little model, but it can be a few little difficult bits and pieces on this. So be aware of that if you decide to do this build. Now, I don't know how old my model is, because I got it off eBay, but you know, if you buy it new today, it may well be a much more up-to-date version with some of these little problems. actually solved, who knows? But you know, it weren't too bad. So everything's all sitting in there nice at the moment. So I'm going to move on to the next stage. Okay, so I've been doing some painting pretty much at this stage, and I decided that the interior was supposed to be black, which is fine. It wanted to be matte black, and I had some spray satin black, and I decided to use that for the interior because it's much neater to spray. So I've sprayed some of that on the actual dashboard, and then over here on the seating and the paneling and stuff like that. So hopefully that will look rather cool. Yeah, so I'm quite pleased with that. I'm not sure what the seat colour is supposed to be yet, but I will check, because they might be something different yet. I don't know. Probably still got to be leather looking, so they may even get sprayed the same, but still all good. Of course, what I almost forgot at this stage, as you can have a choice between left hand and right hand drive. So yes, I'd sprayed the American side and I really wanted the UK side, so there you go. So they're both sprayed now, so I can still make a choice if I want to. But there we are, two dashboards of whatever side you fancy. Magic. So these are quite little weak parts, so you do have to be careful, and you want these to move. So and that one's moving fine now, and so is the other. Basically you need to keep drilling a hole, you know, the hole that's already there. Existing paint would have got in the way, and also scrape the paint off the pin that it goes onto until you can fit it on fairly easy, not too easy but fairly easy, and then move it back, and that's great. I mean, if you try and force it on too tight, then something like this will just snap so easily, it's untrue. So there you go. That's one of the perils of making models. You have to be very careful. Okay, so now I've got to this stage, I just thought I'd mention, if anybody's still watching this video, then here's a great little tip for if you're going to do this model, is take your time getting this frame in. I must admit it's a very, very fiddly and tight fit, and you need to do each spot that it joins with some glue individually, one by one. I've even had to use some super glue on the one I'm holding in now, as it's a little bit springy. So yeah, it can be really tough to get it in place, but once you've got it in place and you can start gluing each piece. I drilled all the holes out and cleaned all the parts that we're going to join, so hopefully this should stick okay. I'm just going to let you can hear it still springing slightly. It's still not quite taken, and I even put super glue in there, so that's amazing. I want to get it stuck as well as I can, so I'm just going to leave this for a while holding it like this and see if that'll fix the problem. But yeah, all in all, it is fitting okay, but it is a little bit of a fiddly part to do, so it's one of those things where you're going to have to take extreme care when doing. Okay, so I'll put some more glue on, and I'm going to leave that peg on for a little while holding it. The other side's gone in nice and neatly. This is just a little bit springy still, and super glue, as great as it is, still takes a while to dry like any other glue. So well, the super glue that I've got anyway. So I'm now going to leave that for a good at least 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then I'll take it off, and it should by then be stuck. Okay, so just need to take the mask off because I would sound very strange obviously with that on. Anyway, yeah, so I've got this to stick properly now, and as you can see, the bits that you don't glue obviously are on the two pins here, here and here, and also of course when you put this rod across, so it all turns and shifts, so your wheels can turn in different directions. So that works lovely, it's going really good, so that's excellent stuff. And then I've also just used some, now I get this from the range as well, in the UK, and it's clear lacquer gloss finish. It's only £3.99 I think, or something like that, but this stuff is absolutely brilliant. I did try it on a piece of plastic first, before a piece of plastic that I had first before I wanted to put anything onto my colour that I had, and so I've just sprayed the body, and that has come out truly brilliant. I mean, I am really pleased with the finish on that. So yeah, I'm gobsmacked. That's worked really well. I'm not going to put any more on there. I think that's absolutely fine as it is. So yeah, very happy with that. And then the bonnet as well, which has come up absolutely spiffing, man. I'm well happy with that too. So that's just been lacquered, so that's fantastic. I'll leave the underneath not lacquered because it's underneath and it wouldn't be like that on a real car. But yeah, it's all looking good. So I'm really pleased with what that's done to the body. Let's give it an even more of an extra shine. I don't know whether I'll bother with this bit underneath. I may well do. I mean, the front will be seen quite a lot, so I've just put some lacquer on that. So that's drying, so that's good. I'm not sure about this back bit. It would mean that I'd have to I could spray a little on it, I suppose. I'm not sure, but I would have to do an awful lot of masking before I did, and I'd have to mask up here. I'm not sure it would be wise. I'm still thinking about it at the moment. Obviously I should have put the lacquer on before I put all this on, but yeah, there you go. There's a mistake, but never mind. But I might just give it just a slight one. I mean, it is underneath, it is underneath the car, but it might be worth just to give it a teeny little bit so that it at least shines a lot on the sides there to go with the rest of the bodywork. But all in all, I'm really pleased so far. So one thing I've noticed, taking a look at some of the other parts, is this one and only chrome part here is actually cracked. A little fair line crack. Fair line crack, I don't know what I'm saying, but there's a crack there nonetheless, which is a shame. I've heard other people saying about this model that that's very weak. They've put support in the middle, but it seems like the support has probably done more damage than anything else. So I'm going to take that support out and put a little bit of clear glue on it and see if I can get that to attach itself again. This is a real shame. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but I've now put some of this contactor clear from Revell on, and I'll let that dry. Whoops, let that dry and see how it goes. But hopefully that'll strengthen it again. I'll have to be very careful when I put this in. I might have to scrape a little bit of that glue, of course, because I need that kind of inside edge, I do believe, as it sits on the outside of the actual bodywork. But yeah, I'm going to let that dry right off at least a day or a couple and see how that goes. If not, I'll have to use stronger glue, I guess, but it's not the end of the world. I will be able to fix it. It's just going to make life a little bit more difficult, that's all. Okay, cool. That's been left dry, and that looks like that's fixed that problem for a little while. So hopefully that'll stay that way. As long as I'm gentle with it, it'll probably go down fine. So we move on. Okay, folks. So at this point, I've been doing a few decals. Oh boy, our decals are a real pain when they're small. But I have got some decal fix and some decal softener, which does come in very handy, especially for the one I've just put on the battery, which puts a blue and a positive, so a negative and a positive on top of the battery. Also a sticker on the side of the battery, although it'll probably never be seen, and then a sticker with information of the battery on top. So so small, but I'm quite chuffed that I've actually got them on there. So, it's going well so far. I mean, it's incredibly small in every way possible, and as I'm getting older, I'm getting a lot less steadier and more shaky. But never mind, it's all working well so far, and I'm getting there. Taking your time and having one of these gadgets is well worth it, I'm telling you. And magnified light, absolutely spot on. And if you haven't got one of them, I've also got a pair of glasses you put on with different magnifications you can drop in front. I've already got my glasses though. By the time I've got my glasses and those, I can see everything so close up. I don't know what I'm doing half the time. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're getting on really grand with this. So yep, let's move on. Okay, so here I've just done the dashboard and I've just put all the decals on. Very, 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 very tiny little decals. There was one complete decal I could have put in the middle, because it tells you to paint it silver, and then they give you one bigger decal to put in that square bit in the middle, but not really say. However, when I did try and put that on, because some of the detail of that inner part, that inside part, has got jutting out bits, it was impossible to get it to lay. So I guess what I should have done, if I was going to use that particular one, was to take off the high spots of that bit before painting it and then putting it on. It would have looked fine, but instead they give you the other choice of doing each individual one, so I did that instead. So I'll put each individual decal on, which was a nightmare, including the little radio down there and these two little side bits either side, and it doesn't look too bad. I'm quite happy with that. So that's all done and ready. I could detail it up a little bit more, I could tidy it up a little bit more, we'll see how it goes, but for now on, that's looking pretty good. I've had to use the decal softener still though in the fix. I just put a tiny little piece of fix on where the decals are going to go, just these little small ones, and then I put the actual decal on, and then just use a piece of tissue to drain up some of the, very gently though, otherwise you'll just pull it straight off again, all the water, and then I just get a very tiny bit of this decal softener and put it on my brush and tap slightly near it or around it or on top of it, hopefully after a little while, so that it gives it a chance to soften them as well. That helps them to stick, and with that combination they should stick down and stay there pretty well. So that's that. I'm still doing all these little tiny bits as well because there's so much painting to do. I'll just put that part in, and that's just been painted, the stem, and then that can go in. So I'll be putting all of these parts in next, including the little bottles down there and the side. I mean, you know, some of the decals for this stuff is just so minute and tiny. You don't have to do them all, but I'm choosing to do them. So there was one on the top here and another one there with some warning or caution sticker on top there. Excuse me a minute. So yeah, it all kind of just adds to the detail and makes it look rather cool. So I'm really pleased with it. It's going well. So battery as well down there with a few decals on it and the terminals painted. You probably, once it's all enclosed and everything, see much of all of this, but you know, nevertheless we're doing it all anyway. So there you go. Yeah, this is all looking good. I'm gonna have to wait for a few things to dry now before I go on to the next part, but yeah, going good. So that's the radiator and the fan put into its place, which wasn't too difficult. So that's looking pretty cool. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. So yeah, carrying on, putting all these little pieces together and loving every minute. Okay, so we're putting the decals now on at the back part of the car. Now this is really fiddly because basically what you've got is a slight raised run going down, and you're supposed to stick these decals on top, which of course will slip down one side or the other side. You have to work really hard and very fragile, pushing them over to where they need to be, and then at least putting some decal softener on if you can, very lightly with a brush, because it's the only way that they'll actually sit down onto where they're supposed to be going. Otherwise they just keep slipping about all over the place. Not too much water. It's a difficult one to do, this is, but still doing it anyway. Yeah, so I'll say it before and I'll say it again. I love the painting. I love the putting the parts together and seeing it all come to life. The only thing I really can't say I enjoy too much are decals. Some look good. I mean, the dashboard is looking pretty neat and tidy. But yeah, oh man, it can be a little bit tedious sometimes, especially with some of the decals they give you. However, you know, using the decals on the engine's been great and it's made it look really good. So, you know, do them if you can. But, you know, I can't say I'm a great lover of doing decals. Okay, so we've just placed the dashboard in. Now the dashboard was quite difficult because this bit was sitting over top to begin with, so what I had to do was put it in at an angle so that this slipped behind this part of the console, and then you just slowly push it that way, and then all of a sudden it just seems to click into place. Sorry, I'll get my words out properly in a minute. Which is not how I thought it would go in. Now that doesn't tell you that, of course, in the instructions, but it's clipped in there quite well. Actually, I haven't even glued it yet, and as you can see, I can pick it up practically with that. So yeah, it's just a little bit of a maneuverment. I can't get my words out today. I really can't. You know, it's just a little bit of jiggling around, but you can get it to go in, and as long as you're kind of just careful, it seems to slot in really nicely, so I'm quite pleased with that. So glad I just done that last little clip as well, because I realised that just underneath the main dashboard console there, I hadn't painted quite all the way down. So really handy that I do these videos sometimes, especially because when you do these videos with these super new iPhones or whatever phone you've got, really, the cameras on them are so good now, they'll just pick up anything. So, you know, at the end of the day, I could see more than what I can see with my own eyes. That's the problem with getting old, I guess, as you can't always see everything. But I'm glad I did, so I've sorted that out. Magic. Okay, so it's time to now work on the doors and the seats. I'd already sprayed these with some satin black kind of look, which is good for the seats and everything. I'm pretty happy with what I've done, to be honest. The steering wheel didn't quite go as well as I was hoping. So I used a different, I put on some brown. It was a bit lumpy, to be honest, so it's a shame really, but never mind, it looks okay. You know, it's been too fussy now. It's all gone in there nice though, and it looks great. So yeah, it's now on to the doors. Now these again have got handles that go in these, but you don't have to paint them, they're already chrome, so that's pretty cool. So that makes a change, because painting can get very tedious after a while. I also found that these decals, as much as I used decal softener, decal what was the other stuff, decal fix, yeah, I tried, well, I used all of those, but I must admit when I was working on them, they just kept coming off. In the end I had to paint one of them silver to look like the others, because I'd lost it. I mean, they just keep coming off. So it's a shame really, but it's a really hard thing to do. I think it would be better if I ever did this again, I would actually mask them up and spray them the silver, or mask them up and paint them by hand, whatever. But I don't think the decals were that great idea. But then it could be because my model is an older version, as far as I can work out, so therefore the decals might be a little bit old if this particular kit had been sitting around for a while. But anyway, not to worry, it's done anyway. It's all looking pretty neat and tidy. It looks nice and neat and tidy underneath, and the wheels at the front are turning still left and right, so that's really cool. So far so good, really pleased. Okay, so all's well so far. We've managed to get all of the bits and pieces inside here now, and it's looking pretty good and well detailed, as you can see. Great bit of dashboard. Yeah, all looking pretty damn good. So I'm going to be moving on to obviously getting the body on pretty shortly, so that will be rather cool. I think the next bit that comes is actually sorting the wheels out. Then they get attached before the actual main body part gets put on. Sorry, moving the camera away too far, which will be of course that piece there. So yeah, and then we'll be going on to all the outside parts, which are the glass and any other details, and then the bonnet which goes on the front, which also comes up and down on this model. So yeah, looking forward to doing all those parts, but so far so good. Okay, so we now have the wheels on, so that's really cool. Now we're getting somewhere. So the body can go on next. Okay, so the body fit is not quite fitting as good as it should. It wasn't really joining here, although there's a bumper to go around there, but this side was quite down and neat here where it should be, and this side is more, well, it's down to is where it should be. Yeah, I probably could go down a teeny bit more, but as you can see, I've had to put some super glue on the back, hoping that that'll keep that back down so I can give it a little bit more pressure on this side, and then it should be okay. But I think it's pretty close. It's pretty close. Okay, I just shifted the back over this way slightly and it actually slipped into place, and now I'm happy. It all seems to be sitting there nice and tight. So the body's on as best as it'll get now and looks quite equal each side. So that's good. That's a bonus. Now I'm just waiting for that front window to dry, because it has been quite a challenge because of the break that was in it at the top there. But I think we've got it. By Jibbity, I think we've got it. So it's all looking okay at the moment. Okay, so that all had to be so delicately done. I couldn't film it, that's for sure, but I've managed to get it all in there. This corner has still been a little bit of a swine to stick, so that's got a bit of tape on at the moment. And then this side's looking pretty good too. So all in all at the moment, we're okay. The glass is pretty damn clean, and the painting around the rims weren't bad. I'd say it could have been slightly better maybe, but not bad. I mean, you know, I could have done it with what do they call it now? The foil, the I can't remember what it's called, but I have got some somewhere. When I remember, I'll put it as a caption underneath this part of the video, because I can't remember what it's called right now. But it's a kind of foil that you put around and then cut, and that gives you the silver around the rims of the windows. Because it's a very difficult thing to do. I masked these the best I could. I cut them the best I could. The trouble is, one little slip and you've scratched the glass and so on. So it's a bit deadly, and I possibly slightly scratched it in the corner there, but you can hardly see. I'll be able to clean the body up later. Now I'll put a few finger marks all over it everywhere, but all in all, I've got a bit of polish, so that'll be fine. But all in all, it's not too bad. It's looking okay. So yeah, I'm pleased with it so far. I mean, you know, I always say it can be better, but you know, not bad. My guess is with this model that this is not going to be easy to get to fit nicely. I mean, I can already see that that's a different shape, and you have to push on that slightly to get it to, as you can see, it's springy. Whether that makes any difference when we put the brace on, which is over there at the moment, which has got to go on, and a few other bits and pieces that might actually keep it in its actual shape, that may well, sorry, I'm taking the camera away from what I'm doing, but yeah, that they need to be coming in a bit either side by the looks of things. But this is going on a what I would call a brace, but you know, there's a lot more gubbins to go in there, put it that way, so that it sits on the front here and it comes up and down. So it'll be out here somewhere actually. So you know, it might fit better once that's all put on, but as you can see, sitting on the top there, it does need to be inwards a little bit like that, like this, sorry, like that. to actually fit properly. That's what I'm trying to say. So I don't know, we'll see how good fit. I mean, I had a feeling when, you know, I was going to do this model that it would be the biggest problem of the model altogether. Whether it's because this is an older version of the model or what, I don't know. But I've put everything together right that it should be, so I'm just going to have to do something to make it fit. We shall see, and if I can't make it fit nicely, then I'll just have it sitting up like that, so you can see the engine anyway, which would be rather nice. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. If I can show this on camera, that piece is going to have to go inside, and that is a little bit away on there and there, meaning that this whole thing has got to come in like that, really. If it does come in like that and I can get it stuck with some super glue or something like that so it's a proper tight fit, then I think when I actually put the bonnet on, it will close better. I think that's how it's going to be, but until I can do all this, which I'm going to scrape some paint off of these places on the bonnet underneath, so it all sticks better. Then we can get a nice stick to it. I can use perhaps super glue and some sheer whatever, elastic band maybe, something fairly strong around there to hold it all in for a while until it sticks, and hopefully that will solve the problem. So it's gonna be a bit of a to do that, but I'm sure we'll get it right somehow. Okay, so we've got that all put together now, and I think that's going to probably do it. So it's holding those both in nice and tight on those brackets in there, giving it a bit of a different shape to what it had before, lifting the middle up a little bit, which is what you need because it's supposed to cover the top of this engine. You know, putting these bits of wire on myself might be too much and I might have to cut them off, I don't know. But I don't think so. It actually sits on that bit, just these two bits are not in enough to look neat and tidy shut. So I'm going to leave that to dry overnight and undo it again tomorrow morning and check out and see how well it fits. So yeah, so I'm going to just have a break from it for now and come back to it tomorrow. Okay, so I've got to this point now, and as I suspected with this model, I was going to have trouble with the bonnet. So the bonnet really fits, but unfortunately when you put it in the particular place it wants to be clipped into, then that's no good. It's almost like this particular piece here should be bent down a little bit, but it's not. So because it's not, if you put it on the hinge, then when you bring it down it just springs back up again. It will sit in place without the actual front being attached to that hinge as it goes. However, you've got nothing to kind of hold it there. So I'm going to have to come up with some sort of, I mean, I've got a piece of tape around it at the moment and it's about the best I can get it sitting. These bits sit out further than the bonnet too, probably because I tried to pull the bonnet in a bit to make it fit nicer here, which it has done, but then it gives a little bit of a gap here. But I'm not too worried about that, to be honest. You know, at the end of the day, that's fine. I would settle with that if I can now come up with something. Yeah, something that I could try tidying this up. I'll have a look at it later, but at the moment I need to come up with something so that when it shuts, for the time being, it will just stay there rather than move around. With the tape on at the moment, it's sitting there nicely, but I need to find some other way of doing it within the inside so when it comes down it just stops. Yeah, so I've really got to think about this one now. Okay, so at last I can now move on. I think that's the best I'm going to get. So I've now got an open up and down and shut bonnet that sits in the right place just about. You can at least get it to fit and look half decent. So I'm pleased with that. That's going to have to do for me. You know, you can mess about with it and make it look a little bit neater. Both sides I do believe look pretty good. yeah, not too bad. That's the best I can do. So I'm going to move on and get the rest of the car done. Just used a cocktail stick to bring up the bonnet and hold it there just for a minute, so that again I can see the engine. And yes, my leads are still in there, but I did make them lay really flat. Everything's not looking too bad. You know, just needs a little bit of a clean up now I've done all the gluing and everything. What I would say is also with this kit is these window wipers, extremely fiddly to get on, extremely fiddly indeed. And as a matter of fact, there was a few things on this car that just seemed so fiddly when it shouldn't have really had to be. So I wouldn't say it's a model car that I would use for beginner, that's for sure. I found it hard enough, but I'm not a professional. But it was really fiddly, I've got to say. But never mind, it's done now and it doesn't look too bad. It just needs a little bit of a clean up, polish up where I've had my fingers all over it. But all in all, not too bad at all. So what would I say about this kit? I would say yes, it's a nice build until the end. I did have a little bit of trouble with this at the end. As I said, the actual window shield that you put in, the frame for the front window, that was also very weak indeed. The chrome bits were very difficult to get on and stay on, you know, and I've got some decent stuff that I'm using. Yeah, all in all, a little bit fiddly, but never mind, it's all good anyway. So I'm going to call this done. I'm happy with that, and I'm going to go back to doing some of my model railway now. As model kits, it's come to that point over here in England where it's starting to get cold, so I won't be spending too much time out here trying to do paintwork and that for models. So that's it until next year. I did enjoy doing this, I just didn't enjoy the end of it really. I thought it was a bit too fiddly, but never mind, it's come out not too bad. So there you go, the E-Type Jag from Revell, level 3. I would again say it's more like a level 4. The bonnet, couldn't get it to fit properly at all. Anybody else has any suggestions on why? As I put everything in perfectly well, there was nothing that didn't go in that was supposed to go in, and how it all went in was how it should have gone in, put it that way. So I really don't know why things didn't fit. Even if I didn't have those extra wires that I put on for the, you know, from the spark plugs to the, I forgot what it's called now. I'll come back to it later, but it doesn't matter. Rotor, no, not rotor. I give up. I forget about old engines in old cars now. I really do. So yeah. Anyway, those wires, extra wires that I put on, you know, to look like the wires to the spark plugs, they aren't causing a problem now. Even if I took them off, this bonnet still wouldn't go down enough at the front, and I have no idea why. If you put it onto the hinges, then it just was too springy and wouldn't sit straight. Also, the body went on how it should done. However, you can see like there's a little gap where it sits, and that's because this front bit's up too high. If it was going down a bit, it would actually sit perfectly well. So I really don't know what the hell went wrong there. I really don't, but never mind. It's the whole reason I do these, is so I can show my mistakes and what's happened to me, so that perhaps you can figure it out as you go along and may not get as many bad mistakes as that I've got. But you know, all in all, I've done cars before and never had that much trouble, so I'm just going to put it down to a bit of bad luck with this particular model. I think this model, according to the date on here, it says 2020. If there's been a more up-to-date version of this out since, then I'd love to know if anybody does know. So leave a comment, you know, leave suggestions, that kind of thing. I did get to the point of putting the Jaguar decals on the wheels, but my God, they were that small and they just kept coming off, so I gave up. I totally lost all sense of caring, if you know what I mean. So, you know, I suppose it's not what you really should be doing when you're doing these models, but there you go. That's my E-Type Jag and how it's come out. The colour's nice. I was happy with that. I didn't put a registration on the front. I just put one on the back. And I just chose any one because it didn't really matter, but I rather like the yellow ones because it kind of set it off a bit at the back. So yeah, all in all, I don't even know if you can see inside, which, well, you can just about see inside, perhaps. Let's see. Yeah, you can just about see the steering wheel and maybe the gear stick and so on and so forth. But you know, you'd have to look through the windows. Now I do know that you can get a open top version of this, which would probably be really nice. Then you could see more of the inside details. But yep, that's it. That's all I've got to say about this model. I've done the documentation of it. I've shown all the problems that I've had. It started off really well and everything went smoothly for me. It was just towards the end where I found it extremely fiddly and a little bit annoying, I've got to say, towards the end, because after all the effort, you know, the effort and hard work you put into it, then you start getting trouble. It kind of sucks a bit. But there we are, the E-Type Jag from Revell, 1.24 scale, done and dusted.
I got a load.